My name is Sarah Reese. I live outside of Philadelphia, and I work one-on-one with students from all over the world who are interested in attending leading top U.S. universities. Normally, the students that I work with are applying to universities like Stanford, Yale, University of Pennsylvania, Duke, Cornell, University of Michigan, University of Wisconsin, the University of California campus. So this has been my expertise for 30 years. For each student, I help to give an accurate and realistic reading on your chances for acceptance. Also to evaluate what possible majors, what are your interests? Are you interested in sciences? Are you interested in business? Are you interested in engineering? Are you interested in languages or history or psychology? So by assessing your interests, I would work very carefully with you to select the universities that are truly going to be the best choices for you to apply to in terms of your chances for acceptance, and then once you're there, the ability to be happy and productive in that university. All of my students have access to an admissions website called Guided Path, and each student has an account. And on this website, we can list universities that might be interesting to you, look at what average grades, SAT or ACT scores are required, and what majors and programs are the strongest ones at each university. We will also be able to look at admission requirements for each university so that we know what you need to do to get ready. I normally start with my students about 1 year ahead, but sometimes it's only 6 months ahead. It's just an opportunity to get going and meet the deadlines. Normally, if you are interested in attending university for the fall of, say, September of 2021, the first deadlines in the US are November 1st for early decision applications. These would be students applying to one university that is an absolute top choice, and that if you are accepted at that university, you will attend. Universities like Brown, University of Pennsylvania, Duke, Georgetown, Cornell use early decision to select the applicants who want to go there. If you apply early decision, you will get your admissions decision before the end of December. So you will, by December, already know where you're going to university next year. Another admission plan is called Early Action, also with a November 1st deadline. Now, Early Action is used by universities like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, many universities, Wake Forest, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And in those cases, you apply, but you are not committing yourself to attending if you're accepted. So if you were to get accepted to Princeton Early Action, you could say, yes, I love that, but I still want to apply to Yale later. The regular decision deadline is normally January 1st to January 15th. And so that's where you would be applying to all of the rest of the universities on your list. I advise most students to apply to between 8 and 10 US universities. 2 or 3 that are reaches, 2 or 3 that are in the middle, 2 or 3 that are what we call security, safety universities. I know you're going to be accepted there. So we look at all of those universities to make sure that they are strong in your areas of interest and that you have a good chance of acceptance or a chance of acceptance. We know that this is a very confusing year because of Corona-19, and that many universities this year, the top universities, are not requiring SAT or ACT. I still recommend to my students that if you have a chance to take an SAT or ACT in August, September, or November, or December, that you should. Because I think if you can present strong SAT or ACT scores, it will help you. TOEFL for sure will be required. Now TOEFL has a take-at-home version. You can sign up to take it at home on your laptop, so you should check that out on the TOEFL website. I should mention about University of California campuses, that is a November 30th deadline. It is one application form for all of the University of California campuses. So that makes it a lot easier to apply to the UC campuses. There is an application, online application that over 400 universities in the US use, and it's my favorite. It's called the Common App, www.commapp.org. If you're going to be applying to US universities in the fall, log into that website and create a profile and start completing the short and basic questions. Don't look at the essays yet. Don't look at the activities yet. And don't complete where it says fill out current year grades, because those are for next year, your last year in high school grades. So that's where I would start to work with you on the details of that application and on the essays. We work very, very hard on essays to help you present yourself as a unique individual who will bring something very special to the universities you're applying to. There's no doubt that the leading US universities are very, very selective. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford are accepting about 5 or 6 out of every 100 students. So it's super tough. I don't think anybody can be confident of acceptance at those universities. So we look at all of that and make sure that if you're aiming high at some of those universities, we have some mid-level and secure universities on your list of 8 or 10. And I can give you a super accurate reading of where your grades, your SAT and ACT, and your activities place you in the group of students applying. How competitive will you be? Speaking of activities and things you do outside of your school, that's a big part of admissions here in the US. You probably know that if you're already considering US universities. Universities here really like to see students who do more than just the academics, who are involved in activities at school, maybe who do sports or community service. So if you have some of those activities already going on, that's going to be a big help when you apply to US universities. One thing I like to do is to talk to students also about the differences between the private universities in America and the public or state universities. Now, many of the state universities are very, very good, like the University of California, University of Michigan, University of Wisconsin, University of North Carolina, University of Virginia. These are top 50 ranked universities in the US. The private universities are normally more expensive and quite selective. But since I work with international students all the time, I see many of my students accepted each year to universities like UPenn, Yale, Stanford, Duke, Emory, Williams, Michigan, Wisconsin, Chicago, Harvard, Yale, you name it. I'm very familiar with working with all of these universities. Another thing I should mention, if you're thinking about the Ivy League universities, Georgetown, and some of those, that many of these universities will want you to have an online or in-person interview with, usually it could be a graduate who is living in Turkey, or it could be an online interview with someone from the admission staff. And that's something that I would prepare you for very, very carefully to help you know what to expect, what kinds of questions they're going to ask, how to look at the camera, how to smile, and how to present yourself as someone that they're going to be very, very interested in. I would tell you that, well, let me back up. Many people ask me, what are the most important parts of getting accepted to a top US university? And I would say three things. Obviously, your grades at your school you're going to in Turkey. Number two, your SATs or ACTs. And number three is something that we call in the US demographics. So that is, we all present, I'm a white female US person. So that's a demographic. You're from Turkey, which I think is a very interesting demographic for US universities because they don't see Turkish students applying all the time. They certainly see some. So coming from Turkey alone, I think is a really positive demographic and something that will allow you to kind of stand out among the international applicant pool, which is so largely made up of students from Asia and South America. So I think your demographic is a very good one. I'm trying to reflect on some of the questions that students ask me all the time. I guess the final piece I would want to speak to you about is about the applications and the essays. For US universities, I think your essays are really an opportunity to pop out and to make yourself known as a real individual. I will work very hard with you to help you craft an essay that is authentic to you and also really, really strong. I have worked with international students for over 30 years. I've seen students from many, many countries get into top US universities. And I love doing it. I meet with students either on WhatsApp, Skype, FaceTime, whatever. I am used to working in many, many different time zones. And again, all of my students have access to Guided Path, a college admissions platform that will allow you to research your college list, your university list, and allow you to understand the universities you're looking at. Many of the universities on Guided Path have videos, so you can actually see the campus, which is very difficult to do that this year because of COVID-19. So I have a master's degree from Harvard University School of Education, and I have been working with students from around the world for over 30 years, and I would love to work with you. So please contact me if you have questions, if you would like details, and I can let you know more. Thank you so much for your time.
Sanırım Sara bir internet sıkıntısı yaşıyor. Birazdan tekrar bizimle olacak.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Great.
So,
I would love to answer questions.
yeah, we have many questions on the questions tab. Can you see them? Or
I
else I'll read them to you.
No, I can see them. So hello
Great.
to all of you. And where are you from in Turkey? Are you from Istanbul, Adana? Where are you from?
You can answer in the chat box.
I see Istanbul. I visited Istanbul and Adana many years ago. I see it, beautiful, beautiful cities. I love your cities. Izmir, I have never been there, but I know it's beautiful. Ankara, Ishir. So let me review your questions. Hi to all of you. I'm very happy that I could meet with you, and I am sorry that I was delayed. There is still time to apply to U.S. universities for September 2020, but number one, not to the top U.S. universities. The Ivy League, the top 50 ranked universities are full. Number two, because of COVID-19, I am advising my international students to wait to either apply. Some universities will have January acceptance, maybe a university like Boston University, maybe NYU, I would have to check. But for the very top ranked university, too late for September. Also, because of COVID-19, you don't even know if you're going to be able to come to the US or whether they will even be able to complete a semester. So I am advising international students to wait until at least January, or even better, September 2021. If you have graduated high school, fine. Get a job, work. We have lots of times to develop a really good application. So that was the one question I saw, is about will American universities start 2020? I think I've answered that. Are there other questions?
Actually, there are many questions, but you need to click on the questions tab.
Now I see it. I was looking at chat. Now
Perfect.
I'm loading questions. Okay, the first question I see is about AP classes. No doubt for top US universities, they like to see lots of AP courses, no doubt. If you are deciding about an AP course that you know you're going to hate and you might not do well in, then if you're not going to do well, don't take it. What we're really looking at is very strong grade point average, GPA, and we need that. So I would advise you only to take AP courses that you know you can do well in. I hope that answers your question. Here's a question from 5 minutes ago. At what grade do you recommend taking SAT and SAT subject tests along with TOEFL? I like to start my students in the year before they're going to apply. Here in the US, that's 11th grade or junior year. So many of my students are doing SAT prep this summer before the junior year and will take the SAT in September or October. That gives us what I call a baseline. We know if you need to do more prep or if you need to focus on the math more or on the reading and writing. So the earlier we start, the better chance you have to get the scores you're going to need. For SAT subject tests, I recommend May or June of the junior year. So that would be next May 2021 or June 2021, which will be the end of your school year and when you're finishing your subjects and you can review and take the subject tests. Most universities only require 2 SAT-2s, and the only universities that require the SAT-2s are like the top 10, 12 ranked US universities. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Dartmouth, Cornell, Penn, Georgetown for sure, Stanford. That's about it. Duke, Northwestern, they don't care. They don't want to see them. TOEFL, again, I like to start early with TOEFL just to make sure that you have a strong one. You can take it at home this summer. Why not do that and get a baseline so that you can see if you need to work on any one part of the TOEFL or another? I see a question about test optional. Most of the top 20 ranked US universities are not test optional, except for this year. This year's students who will be seniors applying to come in 2021. So they are promising that they're fine if you cannot submit SAT or ACT scores, but they still want TOEFL. You must submit TOEFL. If you can, and I think I mentioned this earlier, if there's any possibility that you can submit an SAT and ACT that's going to be high, I'm encouraging students I work with to do that because I believe that it will be helpful. Okay, here's a really good question. Turkey has a very rigorous high school curriculum. Should we take AP tests? Do prestigious and Ivy League universities think that Turkey has a rigorous high school program? Great question, really good question. Yes, not only do the top US universities know that Turkey, and really most international countries, have a better high school program than the US program is. The US high schools, the public high schools are not that good. The private high schools are very good here. But I think most international high school curriculum are stronger and more demanding, and students take many more courses than they do in the US. In US high schools, students only take 5 courses. I'm sure you think that's very funny. It's a very low number of courses. So yes, and I should also mention that not only do the top universities know about the demands of Turkey's high schools, they also frequently know your high school, good high schools that send students to the US. So that's absolutely something they're very familiar with. They keep records of your high schools, specific high schools, and the students who come to their colleges and universities from those high schools. Here's another question. I want to apply to the top universities for September 2021. Perfect. Now is a great time to start. When should I apply for a scholarship? Okay, good question. There are top US universities that offer very good scholarships for international students. I had a student last year from Vietnam who got 2 full scholarships, one at Haverford College, which is a highly ranked liberal arts college near Philadelphia, and the other one at University of Richmond, another very good U.S. university. She had full scholarships. All she had to pay was her plane flight. Her scholarships included books. So normally those scholarships would be applied for along with your applications to each university. So that's something I will help you with. I keep a list of universities that I know will give good scholarships to international students. And not all US universities will, but many will. So that's something I can absolutely help you with. And I would be able to tell you, based on your grades, your SAT or ACT, your TOEFL, and your activities outside of school, whether you're likely to qualify. Okay? Oh, here is this person named EGE, and his last name is EMEK, asking great questions. Do I think COVID-19 will affect 22-23 academic year, especially students taking gap year this year? Good, amazing question. I think COVID-19 will affect this year's students applying for September 2021 the most. And here's why. There are many students of mine, international students from Brazil, from China, from other places, who are not sure they can start university in the fall because of COVID-19 and travel bans. So they have to wait. They have to sit back and wait, maybe to enter in January, but possibly to enter next year. So it's possible because of that, that students entering for applying to enter for 2021 will have fewer spaces. Or what's also possible is that because the universities have lost money because students can't come on COVID-19, that they will accept a larger freshman class for 2021. We don't know yet. I will tell you that we will know in September and October exactly what the situation will be for 2021 and for 2022. I think by 2023, hopefully this will all be over. I hope I answered that question. I don't think, here's another great question, Bashak Kerchak, maybe, I don't know if I say it right. Do you recommend to get a TOEFL or an IELTS? Which is the best? Doesn't matter. TOEFL is more common in the US, IELTS is more common for the UK. If you're applying also to UK universities and you have a good IELTS score, no problem, use that in the US, okay? How can we prepare for the SAT from our own country? I'm sure some of you have been on Khan Academy, K-A-H-N Academy. There's a lot of practice tests there and prep that's available. Even on the College Board site, the SAT site, there are practice questions that you can do. I recommend to students that they prep with a professional, and students who work with me, I will recommend, I have 2 or 3 professionals that I recommend, and I don't really care which one you pick. I think working one-on-one, even online with a professional, can make a big difference. If I apply by early application, can I also apply to other universities? Yes, yes, and that's the idea. To apply to maybe 1 early decision, if you have a top choice, 2 or 3 that are early action, and then all the rest would be regular. So I like to have earlies and regular applications, okay? What are the contributions of summer schools on admissions, such as the Yale Young Global Scholars? Well, Yale Young Global Scholars is a great program. So if you took part in that, that says a lot about you. It's difficult to be accepted into that summer program. And I think it would be helpful to you. It's a real asset to you that you have gone through the Yale Young Global Scholars Program. Or you might be doing it online this summer, as one of my students is doing. So that's a great, great question. Other summer programs, there's many, many college programs in the US. I think it tells universities that you're serious, that you've experienced what a US university is like, and that you like it, and that you want more. Are there any other questions? I have to finish in about 3 or 4 minutes. So if any other questions come in, I'm happy to answer maybe 1 or 2 more. So if there are no more questions, maybe I will sign off. I think you all know how to reach me.
Well, Sarah, thank
Yes.
you so much. I will drop your email address in the chat box just in case if they want to contact you.
I can do that right now. I'll put it right in myself. And I'll put in my website as well. I thank you all so much for coming to this meeting, and I hope I hear from some of you.
Thank you for participating, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.